That night, Camilla took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did feel different. But when she got dressed, her clothes didn't fit right. She looked in the mirror, and there, staring back at her, was a giant multicolored pill with her face on it. Dr. Bumble rushed over as soon as Miss Cream called, but this time, instead of specialists, he brought experts. Dr. Gord and Mr. Mellon were the finest scientific minds in the land. Once again, Camilla was poked and prodded, looked at, and listened to. The experts wrote down lots of numbers. Then they huddled together and whispered. Dr. Gord finally spoke. It might be a virus, he announced with authority. Suddenly, fuzzy little virus balls appeared all over Camilla, or possibly some form of bacteria, said Mr. Mellon. Out popped squiggly little bacteria tails. Or it could be a fungus, added Dr. Gord. Instantly, Camilla was covered with different colored fungus blotches. The experts looked at Camilla, then at each other. We need to go over these numbers again. Back at the lab, Dr. Gord explained, we'll call you when we know something, but the experts didn't have a clue, much less a sure. Now the TV news had found out about Camilla. Reporters from every channel were outside her house telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing cake. Soon a huge crowd camped out on the front lawn. The creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies from psychologists, allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, psychics, an old medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Each so-called cure added poor Camilla's strange appearance until it was hard to even recognize her. She sprouted roots and berries and crystals and feathers and a long furry tail, but nothing worked. One day, a woman who called herself an environmental therapist claimed she could cure Camilla. Close your eyes, she said, breathe deeply, and become one with your room. I wish you hadn't said that, Camilla groaned. Slowly, she started to melt into the walls of her room. Her bed became her mouth. Her nose was a dress, and the two paintings were her eyes. The therapist screamed and ran from the house. What are we going to do, cried Miss Cream. It just keeps getting worse and worse. She began to sob. At that moment, Miss Cream heard a quiet little knock at the front door. He opened it. and there stood an old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. "Excuse me," she said brightly. "I think I can help." She went into Camilla's room and looked around. "My goodness," she said with a shake of her head. "What we have here is a bad case of stripes. One of the worst I ever seen." She pulled a container of small green beans from her bag. "Here," she said. "These might do the trick." "Are those magic beans?" asked Miss Cream. "Oh my, no," replied the kind old woman. "There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans. I'd bet you'd like some, wouldn't you?" Camilla wanted a big helping of heaping plate full of lima beans, more than just about anything, but she was still afraid to admit it. "Yuck," she said. "No one likes lima beans, especially me." "Oh dear," said the old woman said sadly. "I guess I was wrong about you." She put the beans in her bag and started out toward the door. Camilla watched the old woman walk away. Those beans would taste so good, and being laughed at for eating them was nothing compared to what she'd been going through. She couldn't stand it. "Wait," she cried. "The truth is I really love lima beans." "I thought so," the old woman said with a smile. She took a handful of lima beans and popped them into Camilla's mouth. "Mmm," said Camilla. Suddenly, the branches, feathers, and squiggly tails began to disappear. Then the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camilla, and everything was back to normal. "I'm cured," she shouted. "Yes," said the old woman. "I knew the real you was in there somewhere." She patted Camilla on the head. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. Afterward, Camilla wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care a bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted and never even touched a touch of stripes again. I hope you like this book. Comment down below what would you do if you had this case. See you next time. Bye-bye.